We are taking a final look at Beatty Station and things around there, as Slick and Shiny Productions again stumbles our way through a maze of digital nonsense. This is Latrobe over here, and about 2.5 miles to the west of Latrobe on the main line, the old main line of the PRR, was Beatty Station, right here. And right up here, a couple tenths of a mile up the road, was what we will see next, which is now called Unity Chapel. It was a congregation of Presbyterians that was the first center of religion in the area. It's where anyone in the area who went to church would have gone to church in the very early days, in the 1700s. That's a shot I did of it when I was out there a couple of weeks ago. That's not the original church. The original church was a lot more basic and crude than that. The congregation was founded in 1774, and when the population center seemed to move in toward Latrobe, the congregation moved in there, but the church remains there as a chapel because there are a lot of people buried there, and I think there are still burials that happen there. Among the early people who are buried there is no less a celebrated personage than William Findley. That's a very good painting of him by Rembrandt Peale. Findley was an Irish immigrant who fought in the American Revolution as a captain. After the Revolution, he farmed out here in this area. He had a farm, among other things. He also had a mill. In the Constitutional Convention after the war, after the Revolution, he was a member, and he was the first member of Congress from this area. He was a member of the House of Representatives for a good number of years, and he became known as the Father of the House because of the respect and homage that the other members of the House paid him. He was a well looked up to person, very credible person. He's buried there at Unity Chapel, having passed away in 1821. This is what we were just looking at, Unity Chapel. Down here we have Beatty Station. The next thing we will see is something down the road from Beatty Station. This was St. Vincent's own coal mine. This shows it on a topo map. And when I mention St. Vincent's mine, people might think of St. Vincent's Shaft over here. St. Vincent's Shaft was not St. Vincent's mine. This over here was an operation owned and operated by St. Vincent. This is just a little bit better rendition map-wise. St. Vincent is over here. This is Wimerton, Beatty up here, and the mine. And I doubt that there's anything left that shows or gives evidence of it. It burnt in a fire, I think in 1966. And I did this from memory. And I last saw this thing in the 1960s, and this image was just done days ago. So a person might ask, what kind of a memory do you have of it after so long? And well, all I can say is I did what I could. I mean, it was really a basic kind of structure and operation. The mine was right here. This was the opening that went into the hillside. And the guys that ran it, I ran into two of them, and they looked like something that had been brought in on the bus by from the hills of West Virginia or Tennessee or Kentucky. I mean, they were really basic dudes. I mean, decent persons. But they ran this old mine out there digging coal by pick and shovel, and they used mules to haul the coal in, rather the coal out of there, on wagons that they had on rails that they put into the mine. And they dumped the coal in this tipple. And every so often, a guy named Elmer, who drove a truck from St. Vincent, would bring the truck out, pull it under here, and dump coal in there, which he would truck off to St. Vincent's boiler house. This is what we were just looking at, St. Vincent's own mine, which has long since been gone. Next, we will see St. Vincent's shaft over here. This is mapping, rather a photo from 1939. This is St. Vincent, and this is the old Unity branch of the Pennsylvania Railroad that used to run down here. This is the patch of houses for St. Vincent's shaft. This right here is the actual mine. These are the mine buildings, which were torn down in the 1960s. And before all that happened, in the 1930s, there was a shot done. This was the head frame. These were the buildings servicing the mine. That's St. Vincent in the background. About 1962, I saw that this building had been torn down. So I went down there to do a drawing of what was left. This was the hoist engine and winch that drove the cages up and down in the head frame that stood over top of the shaft. I've since 1962 done a few improvements on that, including color. That's another shot of the mine looking more or less northeast. This is the building that include the hoist engine. And this was the slag pile, which has also been taken away. This is my attempt to show where St. Vincent Mine was with reference to the campus. This is the Basilica up here. These are parking lots. This is the Winnie Palmer Nature Reserve down here. This is our last view. I just put this in to show that schedule-wise, Beatty Station was still a stop on the Pennsylvania Railroad in the 1920s. And up to as late as 1928, it was still the post office for people in the area. And that's about as much as I know. I mean, I do know more, but rather than go ranting on and make this too long, I just wanted to add these things which seem to fit in with what we were talking about. And I will simply say, so long, folks, and we'll see you again. This is the end of what I have to say about Beatty right now. Bye.